The Bomb and Pellet is a mega way of fishing for carp in the summer months. I brought you to Barston Lakes and we're going to do a little bit of Bomb and Pellet fishing. I'm going to give you a few top tips to try and help you catch a few more fish on this deadly tactic. Tip number one, I'm going to fire in first, then I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to get this in because I want to get a carp on the old bank. Drop her in there. Tip number one, what pellets you should be using. 8mm for carp, in my opinion, are the optimum size. They make a lovely noise when they go in and you can fire them out nice and accurately. I'm using 8mm cell ones today. Barston Lakes sells a really renowned flavour and smell. They absolutely love the cell smell, but they love it here at Barston, and it's worked absolute treat for me in a lot of matches and filming days. They love that smell. So 8mm, it's a really lovely colour as well. They're quite light in colour, which I think stands out, especially when the water's really coloured. But one thing I'm going to say about the pellets that you use, make sure you feed them regular, not loads at once, but little, like almost like 10 to 15 pellets at a time, twice. So I've got an incredible here, nice strong catapult because it's windy today. I'm fishing around 25 metres, so you need to be accurate. So your catapult needs to reflect that. So make sure you use a nice strong catapult and try and be as accurate as possible. So I always feed twice. It makes that two bangs, like twice. And I think the carp definitely home in on that and they're tuned into noise. Any commercial venue where you're fishing for big carp, they're absolutely switched on to noise. So if you can make a lot of noise and get your hook bait in and around some feed that's accurate, it's going to be an absolute winner. Now my next tip is about when you actually fish the Bomb and Pellet, and probably where you fish the Bomb and Pellet. First of all, you want to fish the Bomb and Pellet where you can be nice and accurate, like I've just said. So don't try and do this at 35 metres because you're just not going to be accurate enough. 20 to 25 metres is really accurate distance. You can get your catapult back, feed nice and comfortable, and you know that your pellets are going to be landing in a sort of 4 to 5 metre area every time. And it's important because you need to build an area. I'm looking to get loads of fish in my peg because that's going to make them a lot easier to catch. I'm not looking to dob an odd fish here and there. When I'm fishing Bomb and Pellet, I want as many fish in my peg as possible. So feeding twice, a nice accurate area, making that noise twice, really almost like rings the dinner bell twice. And it's important because you've got to get as many fish in your peg, as I said, and it makes them a lot easier to catch. And another thing is when you actually fish the Bomb and Pellet, I wouldn't be doing this at the start of my day. I'd look to build this peg up as I go. So if I'm in a match, for example, I'd look to start feeding the Bomb and Pellet, say halfway through. So if I'm fishing a 5-hour match, 2.5 hours in, I'd start feeding it for say 30 minutes and then just had a massive liner then. And then around 2 hours, well, that'll be on, flipping heck, pull my rod in. I knew I had a big liner then, it's caught my eye. But if I've got 2 hours left of my match, I'd look to go on it then. The reason why I wouldn't go on it to start with is because I feel like the fish aren't going to be active enough in that first part of the match. Or if you are pleasure fishing, the start of your day is usually quite slow. And as the day progresses, it's about 3-4 o'clock now, the fish are active, they're hungry, they're looking for food. And that's where building a peg up and feeding quite a lot can really pay dividends. And there's really no way of catching quicker than Bomb and Pellet because you're fishing with a single hook bait, and as long as you're nice and accurate and you're aggressive with the bait that you feed, you're feeding twice, it's an absolute winner. So that's my couple of tips on when to actually feed it. And it's a big F1 that is. Crikey, from the bite I thought it'd guaranteed to be a big carp. Some massive F1s here at Barston. That's a nice one, 3 pounder plus. Well, that's the good thing about Bomb and Pellet as well. If you are going to a venue, say Lindome or anywhere, there's loads of venues up and down the country that's got a mixture of size fish. the Bomb and Pellet's quite good at getting everything in your peg, because when you are feeding twice all the time, regular, every like 30 seconds, you're building up a massive bed of bait, and that gets a lot of fish like this F1 and carp feeding really actively, and it makes them a lot easier to catch, because when you have got more fish in your peg, they're easier to catch. Everything is. If you've only got 1 and 2 fish in your peg at a time, they can be quite tricky to catch. So now another tip is about hook bait. Now, if I'm feeding these 8mm cell pellets regular, I'm trying to feed quite a lot, it's not going to really stand out that much if I just put one of these on the hook, just straight out of the bag. It can work really well. When you've got loads of fish in your peg, it can work an absolute treat. But one hook bait I like to have up my sleeve is still an 8mm cell pellet, but it's actually dyed. I've put some of the red krill activated colourant on it. And as you can see from this little tub here, I did these yesterday, put them in a little plastic bag, shake, I don't need loads, just a little drizzle of the krill liquid, leave them 24 hours, and that cell pellet just really soaks up all of that colourant, and they go a really deep red colour. And as you can see from the middle of that, right there, if that hook bait is out on the bottom in between all of these other standard coloured cell pellets, it's going to really stand out. So make sure you've got a red dark coloured hook bait up your sleeve. I'm going to pop that on there. Another little tip here for you, bomb choice. I'm using an inline bomb here today. Literally got a long black elasticated X-Safe stem on. It's important. Wherever I can on open waters like this, I'll always fish with a long black elasticated stem, and I've got a 1.1 ounce inline bomb. And you might be thinking, God, that sounds a bit heavy, an ounce. But I like it because it's makes a big bang. Because I'm not looking to feather it in and almost sneak my bait in. I'm looking to make a lot of noise with this style of fishing. That's with my feeding and the casting of the bomb. So when that bomb actually enters the surface, it goes bang. And I like that because it almost rings the dinner bell. And all I've got is an 8-inch hook length, 022 N-gauge, 10 SMWG hook, now down to a 4mm latex bait band. It's actually a ready rig, and I've just cut it down, and it's absolutely perfect. I don't like too long a hook length because I feel like you can get mugged off quite a lot. And what I mean by that is a fish can pick up your hook bait, swim around a little bit, and you're not getting that bolt effect. But I know that if my bomb's on the bottom, my hook bait's there in between some other pellets, if it sucks up the hook bait, it's going to be quite direct to that bomb. And all I've literally got is a little prototype, it's a little snap link swivel at the bottom. When I get a bite, it goes bang, bang, and then all of a sudden your tip goes round like you saw. And that black elasticated stem and the elastic really helps cushion the fight. You just lose a lot less fish. So in terms of where you actually cast in your peg, I don't ever clip up. I just cast to where I think my pellets are landing, and I'll play around with it. So, and what I mean by that is I'll have an odd cast right there where I've just chucked it, where I think the main body of pellets will be landing. If I don't get a bite in say 3 minutes, I'll wind back in and I'll go a little bit further next chuck, or likewise I'll come in a little bit. You just got to search your peg with this style of fishing, because you're constantly looking for the fish. So you're constantly trying to build a peg and you're looking for the fish in and around your area. And one tip I will give you is you catch a lot of fish on the Bomb and Pellet at the back edge of your bait. So if I'm just fired them pellets in there now and they've gone say 25 metres, I know that my next cast, if I don't get a bite now, because I'm right in the middle of my pellets there, my next cast I might go say 30 metres or 27 metres, just at the back edge of everything. And that can be a great way of fooling some bigger fish as well. But you don't need loads of pellets as well. That's another thing I'm going to say. I've got one bag of 8mm cell pellets and it fills a full 3-pint bait tub. That'll last me a good hour, an hour and a half, that. So maybe 2 bags. At a place like Barston, I think you need at least 2 bags to really make the most of this tactic, because you don't want to all of a sudden have 30 minutes left of your match and you've totally run out of pellets. Or if you've got a pleasure day and you've come for the full day, you don't want to run out halfway through and it's almost like, oh, what do I do now? So make sure you've got a couple of bags with you And it's 6 pints of pellets that. It's absolutely loads. You're not going to go through that. Not unless you've had the day of all days, and to be honest, if you have, you can just put your feet up and have a cigar anyway. But I always like to feed, as you can see, twice regular. And if that doesn't work, and if I'm not getting a lot of responses, don't be afraid of literally filling your pouch like this and really hammer them in. Proper get them in there. That wasn't very good, that one, because the wind was starting to kick up, but really hammer them in. Proper, make that noise, make it happen. Don't be afraid to be aggressive, because when you are fishing this tactic, especially at places like Barston, big open waters, more often than not, people around you are going to be feeding this as well. So you need to win the fish, and you need to be really aggressive. Not stupid, so you're going to run out of your bait, but have an odd 2 or 3 catapults where it's really aggressive with pellets. I've just fired in there probably that many pellets, which is quite a lot. It's going to take a lot of fish in my peg to eat all of them. So don't fill your peg up with so much bait that they can become impossible to catch. It's just a matter of being regular, little and often, as you know, it's the rule, isn't it, with feeding and fishing. Little and often, all the time, and just keep the dinner bell going. Couple of other little tips here, and it's something Adam Rooney told me about when we were filming at Stafford Moor, and it's really good. It's about twitching your bomb when it's on the bottom. Literally pull it a couple of, like a metre or 2, and that'll just kick up the bottom, move your hook bait and straighten that 8 inches of hook length. So now I've literally been fishing 3 minutes. If I don't get a bite in the next minute, I'm going to wind back in and have probably a cast a little bit further. I'm going to fire in again, but as you can see, I'm firing in a lot of bait, but, well, it's not a lot of bait, but I'm firing in regular, but it's little and often. So it's like 8 to 10 pellets all the time. Try and be as accurate as you can. I know I'm accurate because them ducks are absolutely loving it. And this style of fishing is not about sitting and waiting for ages for bites. You've got to be on it in terms of, right, that's 4 minutes now. Don't just sit there and think, oh, it'll go around eventually. I know I need to wind back in now and have another chuck. And don't be afraid of going left, right, go around everywhere. Tell you what I'm going to do now, and something else is another little tip. I'm going to put 2 8mm pellets on. Now this isn't easy to do, but that's why you have to use quite a big band. So I've got a 4mm bait band on there. I'm going to put 2 of these 8 cell pellets on. It's a little bit fiddly, but you'll be able. I've got into a habit of doing it now, and it's quite good. And it's just a bigger hook bait. And you might think, oh, it's going to come off, that is, and it never ever does. It's mental. Look, it's a big hook bait, that is. And when you're fishing for big carp, like there's some 20-pound carp in here in Barston, that big hook bait is just a good way of singling out them bigger fish. So I'm going to cast a little bit further this time. Perfect, that is. Straight down on your front rest and your back rest, click your stopwatch, catapults in my hand. I'm on it straight away. Perfect. I'm right in, I'm probably just at the back edge of where them pellets are landing. It's got a liner from a swan's bum. Go away, swan. So the wind's picking up a little bit, and just pick your times when you're actually going to fire out as well, because that's going to be a nightmare to get my pellets nice and accurate, because when it is super windy like that, I feel like you're almost going to do more harm than good by firing in. So wait for that wind to die down a little bit. Like I can instantly feel now it's starting to die down. There's little gusts. So I'm going to get a few more out. There, I picked my good window. I've got right on it then. Now it's going up again now. It's tricky, that is. Probably just got away with that one there. I'm going to fret 3 times. I need to get something going here. It's a little bit slow. And don't just sit there for like 10-15 minutes. Be on it in terms of, right, I've been fishing a minute and a half now. I've not had a liner yet, not had an indication, which tells me there's not a lot of fish on, oh, I've just had a liner right now. Typical, isn't it? Said I've not had a liner, literally had an indication and another one. So I know there's fish in and around my bait. And that's an important thing to bear in mind with this style of fishing. If you're getting liners and indications, it tells me there's fish in my peg. But if I'm not getting bites, what I'll do then is I'll probably come closer to myself, because if I'm getting liners and indications but I'm not catching the fish, I'm fishing too far. I need to be fishing closer to myself, because the fish are obviously between me and my hook bait. So next chuck, I'm gonna, 2 minutes that is, if it doesn't go in the next 30 seconds to a minute, I'm gonna wind back in and have a closer chuck. But it's important you ring the changes with this style of fishing as well. Try left, try right, because your pellets, they don't go in a little 2-pint pot, they go everywhere. So that's what I want. I want a load of fish in and around a big area that I can pick fish off from. So I want one main area where I've got a marker on the far bank, and it's that biggest platform that I can see straight in front of me. That's where I'm going to aim for. But some pellets land right, some pellets land left. So don't be afraid of having an odd chuck left and right. Oh, that's on, yes. Ooh, yes. That's a proper carp. That bite was ridiculous. That feels a really big fish. Actually jumped out when I hooked that fish then. But it's important that you use really durable gear as well. Like you see, 10 Super MWG hook or 22 Engage hook length, and I've got 8-pound reel line, 11-foot distance feeder rod. Everything's built to catching lots of fish quickly, because like I said at the start of the film, you're not going to be looking to fish this all day. I might only have an hour and a half to 2 hours of catching on the Bomb and Pellet, so I want to have gear that's not going to let me down. So I don't want, say, 5-pound reel line or anything like that, and thin hook lengths, small hooks. I want a 10 hook minimum, and this were actually on 2 pellets. So I'm going to try that again next chuck, because this feels a really big fish. But one thing I'm going to say is, having Bomb and Pellet up your sleeve in the latter part of your day, when you're fishing at places like Barston, there's no better way of catching these big fish. It can be absolutely deadly. And that's a massive Barston mirror. Oof. Here we go, take your time at this point. A lovely fish. There we go. Come here. Yeah. Go on the Bomb and Pellet. Lovely carp that is. Yeah, cracker. Move that. Hold her up for you. Whew. Lively. All the carp here today have been super lively. Summer fishing for you though. When you're fishing for these big carp, you've got to be ready for it, and your gear has to reflect that. But the Bomb and Pellet, in my opinion, one of the best ways of fishing on commercials, especially when the water's coloured, the fish are feeding nice and confidently. There's no better way of fishing for them. Absolutely brilliant. Get on the Bomb and Pellet, you won't regret it.